My name is Madison Barra, and welcome to my podcast, where it's all about teaching you how to lose weight, keep it off, and actually enjoy the process. I've lost over 70 pounds, and these are the failures and lessons I've learned along the way. Hope you enjoy and subscribe. So today I'm going to go over a topic that is going to make putting health in your life, putting you first, and putting weight loss as a priority easier in your life. Especially if you're a woman, we tend to always put everybody and everything else first, and then it becomes very unnatural, or we just don't understand how to put ourselves first or how to prioritize our health long term, because then, things start creeping back in and other people start becoming more important, and then we stop putting ourselves first after a short period of time. So this is a really, really cool trick that I'm going to share with you today. And I actually heard this trick a couple weekends ago. I was at a conference. I was actually at a real estate conference because it's something I'm interested in and wanted to learn more about. And I went with my husband, Ryan, and there was a bunch of speakers, right? The speakers that came on stage, they shared how they became successful in real estate. They were sharing their tips and secrets. And this one lady came on stage, and as she was talking, it's so funny to me because no matter where I go, I can never escape weight loss and health, right? Everything always ties back to health, and it's always relatable. So this woman was speaking about how she became successful in real estate, right? And, she was like, consistency, determination, patience, doing the boring work, putting in the effort, all the stuff that equates to success in any area, right? Weight loss, health, career, family, anywhere really. And then she brought up a really cool point. And she brought up this pencil versus pen theory. And what this is basically, we're really good at penning in things for others, using a pen on our schedule for other people's things. And we are very good at only penciling in our needs on our calendar. Pen is permanent. Pencil can be erased and pushed away and moved on, right? And so we've been using a pen for everybody else in our own calendars, and we've been using a pencil for ourselves. And so our non-negotiables, our wants, our needs, our desires haven't been penned in. And so if they haven't been penned in, right, literally and metaphorically, then they're not going to get done. And then they're always the ones that get pushed off. You ever have this huge to-do list and you get a good chunk of it done, but what you got done of it wasn't the most important thing to get done? And then again, you put yourself last, you get pushed off, you have to come back to you or try to fit you in. It doesn't become natural. It's not a known fact that you come first. And so this lady was speaking, and I just thought it was just such an interesting concept, because that morning I actually had a big to-do list myself. And the to-do list, I believe it was like 12 items long of things I had to get done that day. And it was funny because by the end of the day, I had only gotten maybe 2 or 3 of those things done. And they weren't really important things. They were just the things that caused or took the least amount of effort. And they were the things that were the easiest and least hated things on my list, right? Because we avoid the things that we don't enjoy. And so I realized that of that to-do list, only some of them were super important that moved the ball forward, that would actually benefit me long-term and get me closer to my goal of this to-do list. But I had penciled in everything, and I had penned in the things that just weren't important, the things that weren't making the biggest difference, the things that if we knocked down one domino, they'd knock down the rest of the dominoes. I didn't do that. And so I think it's really important for you to take a second, myself included, and see, what have I been using pen in my life for, and what have I been using pencil in my life for? Because I guarantee there's some overlap and there's some switching that needs to happen. If you want weight loss to work, to some degree, it needs to be made easier, right? Because it is an uphill battle sometimes. You do have to fight cravings. You do have to fight other people's opinions. You do have to fight self-sabotage or other people's sabotage. There is things that are going to be challenging along this journey. So if we know that, Why don't we start to make it as easy as possible so that when those challenges and obstacles arise, we don't completely crumble and say, okay, my health was only penciled in, so it gets left on the wayside, right? So I had this to-do list of 12 things, and I got, 2, 3, maybe 4 done, and they weren't that important. And so what ends up happening and how I felt, I went to bed anxious because I still had this big to-do list to do tomorrow. I went to bed anxious on a even subconscious level, which I didn't understand why. And it was because I wasn't any closer to getting the things that needed to get done. I had been busy without being productive, right? And that for a lot of women, especially women before they come to work in Tremera, they are so busy and they've been busy in their life and they've been busy trying to lose weight sometimes, but yet they're not productive. Yet nothing has moved the needle forward. Yet the scale is not moving at all or at the pace that they want because you've been busy, but you've been doing the wrong things that aren't pushing the ball forward in big enough steps. And so we need to identify what those things are that would make the needle move the fastest and the farthest. And then we need to pen them in. Stop penciling them in. And I think that this skill, learning this skill, like actually being able to differentiate versus what's beneficial to pen in and what can be penciled in versus this needs to get done. And then if this pencil stuff gets done, that'd be awesome too. That has been happening automatically without intention. Now we need to intentionally decide what to pen and pencil. And I think that skill of having the intention of knowing what and when, I think that is probably one of the biggest skills that can lead to overall happiness, right? Because when we live our lives for others, when we constantly put our goals on hold, or when we let other people control the rate at which our goals happen, right? Because other people are taking up my time, they're taking up my energy. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have the motivation to do it at the end of the day, right? When other people are making it harder for you to reach your goal, what do? We end up resenting them. We get bitter about it, right? We get moody and irritated about it around them. So you're not the happiest, most patient and calm and content person you can be if we haven't mastered this skill, right? Because the wise will trade self-respect for nothing. Nothing. No money, no status. Self-respect is all we have and all that we can control, right? Because sometimes we can't control our metabolism. Sometimes we can't control our schedule, but we can control self-respect. And the highest form of self-respect is taking care of your health because you are not your best self. You are not presenting your best self. You are not being your best self for your family, your friends, or yourself if you do not have self-respect. And self-respect is not self-respect if it just happens by accident, if it just happens to be squeezed in and we made it work. Self-respect is having boundaries and sticking to those boundaries and those non-negotiable penned in things when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when other people's feelings might get hurt, when other people question you and your behavior. The ultimate form of self-respect is putting you first because you said you would, you followed through on your word, and you're willing to accept all the consequences that come with being self-respectful. Because there are consequences on either side of the coin here. There's consequences of not having self-respect, and there's consequences of having self-respect. And I'm sure that you have experienced both. I know that I have. I know that when I was over 80 pounds heavier and I was lacking the self-respect of putting my health first, right? I didn't make time to exercise and treat my body right and move my joints and get those endorphins flowing. I didn't make time to meal prep so that during the week I could make an easy, healthy decision instead of a quick junk food decision, right? I didn't put these things in place that respected future me and helped out future me. And so I was miserable. My clothes didn't fit. I wasn't sleeping well. I didn't like going out into places because I was afraid people were going to judge me. I never wore a bikini. I missed countless beach days because I was so uncomfortable. Like I was just surviving and I wasn't thriving. Those are the consequences that I had from not making self-respect intentional. Now, every now and then when it was nice out, I'd go for a walk. Is that me respecting my body? Sure. Was it intentional? No, because it just so happened to fit in. Or I only did it when I felt like I wanted to go on the walk, so I went on the walk. What about when you don't want to go on the walk? Do you still go on the walk? That's what I'm getting at here. Really quick, you guys know that I do not run any ads or try to sell you anything on this podcast. The only thing that I would ever ask of you is that you help me spread the word so that I can help more women lose weight, keep it off, live a healthy life, and love themselves in the process. And the only way that we can make that happen is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing that I would ask from you is if you could please leave a review. It'll take about 10 seconds. It would mean the world to me, but more importantly, it could change the world for somebody else. Back to the podcast. So what needs to happen for you to lose weight? Because for the most part, we know there's something going on with our food, and we know we can probably be moving more productively, right? Now, exactly the details of that, that's where a coach comes in handy to make sure that we're choosing the best option for you so we can actually reach your goal fast, because fast means motivation, and motivation means we don't stop, right? Instead of this on and off yo-yo dieting that people get stuck on. But it's all about just sitting down and saying, this is, if I do X, Y, and Z, it is only logical that the scale will go down, that I will get healthier, that I will feel better, that I can go to bed proud of myself. So what is your X, Y, and Z? That if you were to do, it would be illogical for you not to reach your goals. That's what we need to think of, right? Instead of saying, I know I need to not do this, and I wish I could do this, and in a dream world I would do this, just logically think for a second, take emotion out of it and say, what would need to happen for me to actually lose weight? What do I think those habits look like? Or those actions look like? And once you have that, you now have an idea of what needs to be penned in. And so you take that and you strip away the layers of each of those things you defined, and you say, how minuscule do I have to make it to actually commit to it? Right? Because meal prepping 2 hours a week is not necessarily, although maybe it should be penned in, it's not necessarily realistic to pen it in, right? So that way, and then a lot of the times what happens is we say, okay, I'm going to meal prep 2 hours this week. And because it's not realistic, in our mind, we only penciled it in because we knew, things could come up. I might not want to, I might not have the time for that much. We penciled it in our mind. And if we've penciled it in our mind, it's not going to get done if motivation and willpower aren't there. And that's been the problem with most women when they're losing weight anyway, right? We know what to do, we're just not doing it. I can't be consistent. I can't stay disciplined, right? I'm great during the day, I fall off at night. I'm great during the week, I fall off on the weekends. There's this lack of consistency. And it's not from the fact that you suck or you have no willpower. It's the fact that we're not intentionally choosing self-respect. And we don't have a clear defined definition of what self-respect means for you in terms of health, right? You need to have your penned in things on the top of your mind. So figure out what those are, because you've already been doing this. You've already been penning and penciling in your mind in the background automatically. It's just we've been not intentionally choosing which one is which. So what you need to do is sit down. You need to think about, what have I been penciling that has been hurting me? What do I need to start penning in that if I did, it would be illogical for me not to reach my goal? And that will just make you a happier, more well-rounded person, because now you're actually sticking up for yourself. Now, not only do you feel good about yourself because you're making time, other people will respect you more. They might not like it in the first place because this new you or this new boundary setter in you is inconveniencing them in some way, but they will respect you. And sometimes when it comes to health, when it comes to weight loss, respect is more important than love and being liked, especially from yourself. Because you can love yourself, right? You see women who are medically obese walking on the beach, strutting their stuff in a bikini, right? They can do it. They love themselves. But here's the thing. They don't respect themselves on a deep, deep level. And what I mean by that is, if you keep saying you want these things, if you keep saying you need to lose weight, you need to put yourself first, you need to put your foot down, you need to stand up for yourself. If you keep saying these things, yet we're still in the same position we're in, well, then you're losing respect for yourself because you're not a woman of your word. You're not following through on what you say. You're all talk, no walk. And that's the worst feeling to have fester inside of you. right? When you're disappointed in yourself. And I don't want you to feel that way anymore. And I don't want you to think to get to a point where you are proud of yourself or where you do feel you're on the right path for weight loss is a big jump. It's not. It's a very small step. And it starts with realizing how you've been separating things with pen and pencil in your life unintentionally. Then sit down and decide, okay, what are the few things, 1, 2, maybe 3 things that are non-negotiable and need to stop being penciled and move to that pen side. And then guess what? You can take it literally and go to your calendar and write things in pen versus writing things in pencil. You can do pen and you can do pencil, and you can switch it up, and literally you'll see it. If it's in pen, everybody can see the calendar on the fridge and everybody says, oh, I don't mess with mom. She penciled in that, or she penned in that rather. Oh, she penciled in this, so maybe I can get a ride home from soccer today because it's a pencil day. Get what I'm saying here? It's as simple as deciding your priorities and then wrapping those priorities in a thing that's easy to follow through in, right? Like a 5-minute walk at the end of the day, nobody interrupts mom, right? At the end of the day, if I haven't got my water in, I'm going to chug 500 mils. Like, what is the things that you know you need to do, and then strip them back to the bare minimum, small level, and pen them in. And when they become easy, when they become automatic, when other people know that they are non-negotiables in your life because you've proven to them you didn't drop them at the first time, at the first sign of stress or struggle or demotivation. When that happens, then you can go bigger. And then we build and we build and we build. And the pen becomes bigger and more respected. Right now, the pen is not respected because the pen has been written for somebody else. And it's usually for somebody else. And then you've only been penciling yourself. So you'll be questioned. You won't be respected. But it doesn't take much to flip that switch. It really doesn't. So I hope this resonated with you. And I would love for you right now, really quickly, open your notes on your phone, get a notebook, and I want you to write down, what have you been penning? What have you been penciling? And what needs to move over to the pen side? And what does that look like? And how are you going to make sure that no matter what, you follow through on that? If you found this podcast valuable, I hope you can leave a 5-star review. And if you want to learn more about how to lose weight fast and for good, visit Tremera.com. Thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss another episode.